Welcome back to Game Over Cancer, everybody. We're going to be hopping right into our next run. It's going to be any percent Mega Man 11 with CocoRTA and Creed on commentary. Go ahead and take it away, guys.
Hi, how you doing? I hope everyone's been enjoying the Mega Man action, and we're gonna just keep it going.
Indeed, looking forward to some Mega Man 11 action. It's been a while since I've seen this run, but you never forget a familiar face.
Indeed, don't worry, I'll be here to help you out.
But yeah, tell us what we're gonna be seeing before we get started.
So yeah, this is the latest Mega Man to date. It's also one of the most complicated Mega Man games. So we're gonna be starting in like 3, 2, 1, go!
Yeah, but as Coco said, this game is a beast in terms of trying to navigate all the nuances that this game provides. Is one of the things that I've often said, for a game like this, you got to be a master at finger gymnastics because you got a lot of options that you can pull within this game. But first and foremost, we're going to start with Impact Man. Impact Man stage is one of those stages where you really don't need too much. Of course, in the past, there was an argument for you going to Tundra Man first, so you can use the Tundra Storm and help make this stage a little bit easier. But for the most part, you're going to be starting with this stage because the weapon you get in this stage is pretty much vital and pretty much the foundation for this speed run. But for right now, as you can see, Mega Man in this latest adventure, it pretty much does what a Mega Man does. He jumps, he shoots, he slides, but he also has a couple of extra little goodies that makes this game a little bit more special and unique. If we'll talk about it once we actually see it in action. Well, actually, no. We can talk about it right now because the main gimmick of this game is that you are equipped with the double gear system, in which, as you saw right there, you got two separate gears. One you saw already in the speed gear, which basically slows everything down, and with you being just a little bit faster than everything else, but overall it's just a little bit of a slow mo, and the aforementioned power gear, which you're going to be using for this particular mid boss. And if you time your power gear to near its crux, right before it goes to full power, where you wind up getting this cooldown, you actually get a full powered shot, and it pierces. Using that really helps takes out that mini boss that you just saw there. Meanwhile, as you also see, Rush gets quite a bit of nifty uses, mostly because you actually have a separate designated buff for Rush now. So what Coco's doing is pretty much using Rush Coil he's doing this, he's doing optimized strats. That little bit of space right beside the spikes you can touch and actually skip the remaining of that moving platform section before you get to the end of the stage and you get to Impact Man, where the name of the game is Do Not Let Him Escape. So Coco's gonna try to fight Impact Man in such a way where it does not get into his desperation move where he activates his power gear. So he's gonna be using this two-pronged power gear buster attack and did it to a T. Of course, the when you're doing the two-pronged buster shot for the power gear, not only you get the standard buster for 3 damage, you get an extra set of damage, which I believe is 5, for the secondary red shot, and it pierces through iframes, so you get a clean double shot. And that was a very well executed fight, no power gear phase, and we're moving on to Tundra. So, Tundra Man stage, we don't have this weakness. The order for this game is more based on utility rather than optimized boss weakness routes. So we pretty much going to get the Thunderstorm for its very strong. It's a very strong weapon. Full screen when you're able to use it with the power gear. Speaking of, one of the main benefits of the power gear is that it will amplify the strength of every weapon, not just your buster. So as a result, it makes the power driver basically your speed weapon because not only does the power driver being a strong weapon in its own right acts as a bit of a dash and an air dash. So knowing how to use the power driver and not only for attacking but also as movement is paramount to try to get through the game as quickly as possible. However, the caveat of this is that you use a lot of weapon energy, especially when you use the power gear variant of your weapons. So what Coco is hoping for, he's hoping for a lot of weapon drops so he can actually maximize as much power driver as possible. In the meantime, we got this mini boss here from Tundra, giving Coco a little bit of trouble. Oh, we actually getting this little bit of immunity phase. Kind of unfortunate, but it happens. But as you mentioned, you saw that excuse me, the power driver is actually pretty low right now. So Coco's not really quite able to maximize the amount of power drives he would like to have. Fortunately, look like he did get a bit of a weapon drops, seeing that his power driver got a little bit higher. But now he's pretty much on running off fumes, and that's pretty much the name of the game as far as how to speedrun Mega Man 7. Weapon management is so important.
Dang it.
Oh.
Then that was my fault.
Yeah, the end section of Tundra Man is a little bit treacherous with the wind pushing against you, pretty much forcing you forward into some very, very dangerous jumps. At least this time he's able to get this weapon tank. Once again, since we're using a lot of weapon energy, especially for weapons like our power driver here, we're gonna be getting a lot of weapon tanks along the way, so that we can try to get the most out of our abilities. Of course, that's not to attest that we do have also some little extra little goodies that the game allows as far as quality of life.
Dang it.
Oh
In the same place.
no! We'll get it. We'll see this through. You got this, Coco. But yeah, as I was saying, this game has a lot of functionality. As you can see, there you got the ability to auto fire. Pretty sure Coco is using the auto fire to its maximum. As you can see, that spread of pea shooter shots just going in rapid succession. And this game introduces the weapon wheel, where on the right control stick, you're able to actually navigate through your weapons by navigating your right analog stick in a direction, which will take you straight into the weapon that it corresponds to the boss that the weapon you get it from, according to the level select. Let's see.
Got it.
There we
First
go.
try.
So the Thunderman fight actually not too slow without the weakness. It's pretty much gonna be in a me similar to the Impact Man fight, where you're gonna be using a lot of Buster strikes. Oh, we get a little bit of speed gear phase, but at least unlike a Impact Man, Thunderman is still vulnerable in the speed gear phase. So once he was ready to be primed to get killed, Koga was able to take him out, and that's Thunderman stage down. And another strong weapon in Kogo's arsenal has been obtained in the Thunderstorm. Coming up on Torchman stage, it's a pretty straightforward stage. Not too much in terms of strats that we haven't seen already. Once again, the bread and butter of the run is going to be just using as much hard driver as needed in order to bypass all the obstacles and or enemies that get in your way. But now that we have the thunderstorm available, which is the weakness of Torchman, of course, once again, which means we're gonna have to utilize our weapons accordingly. We're gonna have to keep an eye on how Coco continues to use his weapons throughout the stage. Of course, one of the major gimmicks that we just passed through is that a firewall that chases Mega Man in set areas. Of course, the fire is instant kill, so you want to stay ahead of it at all costs. And now, down goes the Jive Turkey, killed in basically just a handful of powered up thunderstorm shots, which is pretty much what the thunderstorm is. If you give it a comparison, it's kind of like charged tornado in some ways. It's very vertical. It deals a decent amount of damage, and it does have a freezing effect, especially on those flame walls, as you saw Coco use just not too long ago. But yeah, as you also saw, especially in that mid boss, as he pops in one of those well needed weapon tanks. The Thunderstorm in its powered up state in Power Gear form basically is a full screen crush that pretty much destroys just about anything that's on the screen that can't handle it. Meanwhile, we're about to just truck along through the rest of the Torchman stage, just not too far to go. Buggo knows the layout of the rest of the area, and now it's just a straight shot to Torchman, where the deal is just some well-timed thunderstorm shots, a mixture of chart of normal and power gear to make sure your weapon management is, yep, there you go. Perfect weapon management, very fast Torchman fight. Down we go. We're gonna be going on to the next stage with our new weapon intact. So the blazing torch. A lot of the Mega Man 11 weapons are pretty strong and pretty useful. In terms of the blazing torch, it shoots up in an upward angle. It starts upward but then descends down. In its Power Gear variant, it shoots out three of them. But it's insanely good in this stage, Blast Man. Not only is this the weakness for the blazing torch is the weakness for Blacksman, obviously, but as you can see, it has the extra benefit of early detonating these explosive boxes. Where normally the gimmick is you got these tripwires where once they reach the detonation point, then they'll actually explode the boxes. The blazing torch pretty much it mitigates all of that and just continues to, and you can pretty much just go along your merry way in that fashion, especially since one of the ways you can do and get yourself a weapon tank. Nice job with that coaster meter boss. Once again, the thunderstorm being such a strong weapon in its own right. It pretty much a boss decimator. At this point, it's pretty much just a straightforward shot till we get to our Blastman fight. All you just need to know is that at this point, we're by the end of the stage, we're gonna be seeing Rush Coil in its glory, especially towards the end of the stage. And before we get to Blastman, if there are any donations or any announcements, you could probably get one in or one announcement if so need be. Seemed like we didn't have anything coming up through. That's all right. Hopefully, we still get some donations later on in the event. But for right now, we do have a blast man sighting. And the way that Coco does this fight, as you can see, it starts by using the thunderstorm to get damage amount. We do have his weakness in the blazing torch, but the powered up Buster state is so reliable that with proper uses of that Buster and some help with the rush coil, you get just as fast as a fight as opposed to using his actual weakness in the blazing torch. And with that down, we got our next weapon in the chain blast, and hopefully we'll be getting some good stuff later on as we continue on with Blockman. So Blockman stage, which many people would know from the demo of Mega Man 11, is a pretty straightforward stage. But once again, this game is a game where weapon uses is so important, and even more so now that we got our rush jet. One of the things I didn't get to mention was that after four bosses, which has been a tradition since around Mega Man 9, is around the fourth Robot Master is where you now get your rush jet, and it too has its own dedicated button. So in terms of weapon usage and the ability to shuffle between the weapons and the rush utility items, you get yourself a pretty fantastically varied run. And you even get interactions like that. As you saw, you can actually get a little bit of extra propulsion if you ride the rush jet and fire your buster shots. You get that little bit of extra oomph. And unfortunately, in this case, we got a little bit of extra oomph. But it is what it is. Coco will recover. But yeah, as you can see, a lot of weapon usage in order to make the weapons make the run as smooth as possible, as well as fast. Coco taking the area a little bit safe. The area can be very dangerous, especially if you get a little bit off personal cycle. You do not want to get caught by those falling blocks in your way while you're trying to rush jet through them. And as you saw on these mini bosses, you can just pretty much just use a lot of weapons in succession. It's not like past Mega Man games where you can't use a weapon while another weapon is out, or you got to cancel a weapon in order to use another weapon. If you got a weapon, you can use them all at once. You can pretty much just use them all in successive fashion, and it works wonders, especially for mini bosses. One more vertical area. Good uses with the rush jet. Opting to do it the normal way as he's out of power driver. The weapon drops not really being kind. The death, unfortunately, also played a little bit of a part to the weapon management. But regardless of the matter, by hook or by crook, we have gone to Blockman stage, where the thing about this fight is we do not want to see Big Boy Blocky. So at this point, we got Blockman, and Coco's gonna do a specific setup, start with the Tundras, and now we're gonna use how we did with the Chain Blast. Oh, this might be look like we had a bad setup. We're about to see Big Boy Blocky. We had an awkward setup with the Chain Blast. blast portion of the fight. So now we got to see Big Boy blocking. We got this whole full different set of health bars, and we got to dig through that before the fight continues. And now we got to deal with this airman-like desperation attack. Kind of unfortunate, but we got more than one ways to take care of things. As I'll continue on in a little bit, unfortunately, the feed is down on my side. I'll find a different means to continue on with the show. Gonna try to get on Coco's stream right quick. Meanwhile, Coco should be taking on the next Robot Master in short order. I'll be there to commentate in a moment.
Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure?
So now that I got feed again, you saw that Coco has now done the essential shop visit where we're going to be needing a lot of weapon tanks. We're going to be needing them because, once again, this game is extremely heavy on the weapon usage. So what we're going to be seeing as we go to the Bounce Man stage, once again, we do have Rush Jet. We're trying to use Rush Jet as much as possible in order to try to mitigate some of the vertical climbing and some of the trampoline and or bounce ball gimmicks that this stage tries to display. Fortunately, getting a little bit of an issue with some of the platforming. Trying to navigate and work through all these platforms and trying to cycle through all these weapons. These are some very tough things to do in this run. Trying to multitask in this game is a very complicated affair, and Coco is doing his darnest to make sure that these are some smooth runs. Meanwhile, we get Pump Master K with our friend Froggo. Unfortunately, we do have to kill that as quick as possible, using a lot of Power Driver and other weapons like the Block Dropper that we got from Blockman stage. And we're just hoping to get through the rest of the stage in quick succession. We're gonna see good use of the Rush Jet to focus on the left side and do the bounce balls to get up to that little vertical section quickly. And we return to Pump Master K. Had to blow him up. Sorry we had to do that to you, friend Frog, but we got a schedule to keep. And now for the final portion of the stage. As we get our next weapon tank, as we can never have enough. We're gonna try. Coco's gonna try to do a speed gear tactic with the Rush Jet. Is it high enough? Indeed, it is high enough. Oh, and gets the Rush Jet boost. A very, very tough strat. Able to do it clean. About to go to the Bounce Man fight with the weapon of choice, which is the Power Driver. The Power Driver will force Bounce Man into separate parts, but it shouldn't be too hard. A couple of power gear shots with both the Power Driver and the Buster, and Bounce Man pretty much goes down in short order. From there, we basically get our weaponized chew toy in the bounce ball. And of course, since it's rubber, and most rubber is not conductive on electricity, we are going to Fuse Man stage. So Fuse Man stage, once again, is one of those stages where not too much is happening. A lot of the gimmicks is gonna be trying to once again use our power driver as much as possible. But of course now we got our bounce ball. The bounce ball is gonna be important in some areas of the stage, especially for some of those lasers emitting machines whenever they get hit by one of those electrical fuses. The bounce ball pretty much one shots them. And knowing that fact, Coco's gonna use that to his advantage and try to skip a little bit of platforming using that bounce ball and gonna continue on proper. Once again, using as much weapons as possible to try to get through these obstacles and all these platforming trials. Got our mini boss Dress Spark. One of the more interesting tidbits about mid bosses and the bosses is that typically the weakness are shared for the mid boss and the bosses themselves. So if you know the weakness of the mid boss, you pretty much gonna realize it's the weakness for the boss. So it's safe to say that, especially since we got weaknesses now, we're gonna be using the bounce ball for Fuseman that's coming up. But this fight is a little bit of a special affair. If you want to talk about versatility in fights, this is probably one of the most foremost examples. 'Cause you're going to see a combination of Rush Coil, Rush Jet, Bounce Ball, and Power Gear Buster for what should be a fantastic looking fight. We're going to let this fight speak for itself. Oh, nearly had it. Got to see a little bit of the speed gear fused. But as you can see, that is such a interesting setup for a fight. Very, very clever, very complex. If it done right, it would have been a very beautiful looking fight. Got a little see a little bit of speed gear, but in the end, it was still very workable. Coco recovered very smoothly. All that's left now is Acid Man, and Acid Man is technically our de facto underwater level. Even though technically our water is more like chemicals, keeping into the whole chemistry, sciencey aspect of this stage. But in this stage, you're actually gonna be mostly be moved along the current. So Coco's gonna have to not only navigate the area, but also have to keep in mind that he's subject to whatever current the direction of the currents are going to be before he gets out and goes to the next area of the next area of the given stage proper. Once again, popping in our weapon tank, going to use our bread and butter power driver, our speed run weapon. As we continue on, once again, we're going to another underwater section. And this time we're about to head to a mini boss. Ever seen a bullet hell shooter in a Mega Man game? This boss just found out about that firsthand. Pretty much everything except the kitchen sink just dumped on this mini boss in order to take care of it quickly. It's like a cave shooter, but in Mega Man. But done in your benefit instead of the opposite. So once again, we're just trying to make sure we are in position to maximize our power driver usage using other weapons as see fit. As you saw, a little bit of block dropper usage, seeing some powered up chain blast and blazing torch. Make sure we navigate this set of spike corridors. And we're pretty much done with the stage. All that's left is just Acid Man himself. Acid Man being weak to the block dropper, all it is just some pretty well timed hits. He can be hit while swimming under the acidic chemicals. Of course, it has the added benefit of pretty much knocking down Acid Man's trademark acid barrier. And with a few good pops, down goes the chemist. And that completes our 8 robos. As for the acid barrier, yeah, it's not used all that much. It's only used for specific circumstances. You'll know it when you see it. But like I said, 8 rebels down. Dr. Wily is in our sights. Going to our newly constructed gear fortress, where now things get intense. If you thought pod driver usage was intense in during the 8 rebels, this is where it reached its zenith. Because this is an area where you're going to be seeing pod driver not being what it does and being the best speedrun weapon. It's pretty much you got to use it to get by all this annoying platforming, because you do not want to mess around with anything of these rotating gear platforms and these destructible red ones. So what Coco is planning to do is just pretty much go up top, use the power driver as much as the energy can give out on it, and just hope and pray that the weapon count is good and no enemy snipes them along the way. And here, in a moment, we got that big power driver fly around the next screen. Let's see if we get it. Go. There we go. No snipes. None along the way. We got Coco going through the area as swift as you expect a runner of that caliber to go. Using Rush Jet to ignore the only set of Yoku blocks in the game, thank goodness. And all that's left after this set of screens is one more set of vertical platforming with the gears in question. Taking the left side since it's fastest, using the rush jet as leverage to get up there. And now we're about to meet an old friend. Mega Man 1 Revived. It's the return of the Yellow Devil, even with the Mega Man 1 pattern intact. In this case, we're going to be using the Chain Blast, but we're not going to be trying to use the Power Gear variant. We actually want to use the 4-prong smaller variant, because those actually deal more damage than the Power Gear variant. Unfortunately, he was kind of unable to get one of those 4 shots. At least on my end, it didn't look like it. But regardless of the matter, Coco was able to still recover and was able to get a kill and pretty much save all that extra time bleed that could have happened if he had another set of misses. So for Wally Stage 2, this one is more intensive with the other weapons aside from the power driver. You're gonna see a lot of uses, particularly of Chain Blast, Blazing Torch. You're gonna be seeing a good load of Thunderstorm in some cases, block droppers in some cases. You might be able to even see a Squeak Toy or two if needed. But this, like as I've been mentioning, this is such a weapon-intensive game, and the fact that you got so many tools in your arsenal, as far as movement, as far as your abilities to just go to a weapon at will with the weapon wheel. This is what makes the speed run not only such a spectacle to watch, but also a very complex beast that a number of runners can only be that are able to do. It's such a fantastic looking run when seen at an optimal level like this. Once again, seeing all the uses of the power driver, you saw the Chain Blast taking care of some of the enemies that are usually one shot by bombs, like so. All the while being chased by a little bit of a skull grinder, which is kind of like the flame wall variant that you saw in Torchman stage. It has that similar effect and consequence of instant death. Now see these power musclers, going to ignore them, kill one with a power block dropper. And now the climb. The rush core usage, able to do those jumps pretty smoothly. And now we're about to go to our next boss, which is Marvern, which is circling Q9 Light. What you're going to be seeing is a combination of bounce balls and power drivers. The bounce ball mostly to get Marvern's core exposed, and then power driver shots in addition to some bounce ball strats if needed in order to this to get Marvern down. Unfortunately, it looks like we have a little bit of oh boy, had a little bit of faux pas here. Looked like we were kind of got a neat little bounce ball deflection for the final shot. Like I said, weapon management is such a key thing in these runs. The flow can be so off its if a weapon just gets emptied a little bit earlier than anticipated. But luckily Coco was able to recover, and now we're pretty much at basically it's basically what Mega Man 5 is. These stages are basically kind of akin to Mega Man 5. And now that you got that short little blip, you go straight to the boss rushes, where there are some differences. Most of the stuff still gonna remain the same. We do have Acid Barrier, but Acid Barrier is a little bit inefficient for the Impact Man refight. So you're pretty much gonna do the same exact fight that you had done when you first fought him. Just a lot of powered up Power Gear Buster shots, and you pretty much get a clean fight. Making sure not to get into that Power Gear invulnerability phase. Next up is Bounce Man. Once again, the power driver gets to work. Means the Power Gear Buster to finish it off, and we're good to go. Next, the return of Acid Man. Nothing changed here. Just make sure you get your block dropper attacks off in well order. Couple of extra Power Gear shots since it was still on land. And now we're gonna see if we can do a little bit of a makeup. You saw Big Boy Blocky once. We do not want to see it again. So once again, we're gonna be starting with Tundra. We're gonna be doing a set of Flame Blast using the Force set for maximum damage. And the full power Buster. There we go. That's the fight we like to see. Meet up for that first fight. And let's see if we can get that good executed Fuse Man fight that I was talking about on that first go. Get that rush core shot set up for the rush jet. Oh, just slightly missed it. Once again, we get that little bit of a glimpse of that speed gear Fuse Man. But once again, it's not immune to the bounce ball in that stage, so just a couple of bounce ball shots and Fuse Man went down. Meanwhile, for Tundra Man, here we actually do have a bit of a change because we do have the weakness with the Scramble Thunder, and we use that to its full effect, using the Power Gear set to emit maximum amount of damage along with the Power Gear Buster. For Torchman, same as he ever was. Make sure you have a good setup with your Thunderstorm shots. Had to save one because he's planning to use one of those Thunderstorm shots for Blast Man, which is coming up right now for our final refight. So pretty much gonna be the same as last time. Start off with a full power Thunderstorm and get to work with the Power Gear Buster shots. Good use of the Rush Coil, and there we go. Pretty solid refights, As we go on to our final stage, where we're about to face off Dr. Wily proper. So in our final stage, the name of the game is pretty much just cycles. This stage pretty much has moving platforms that you basically are trying to beat as much as possible, and of course doing the classic strats from the beginning, making sure that our run is valid with all the bounce balls. But yeah, you're pretty much just trying to race these platforms using a little bit of the speed gear to make sure that Coco is able to beat these platforms, and he does. And now to our final set of Wally fights, where our Wally machine, in this case is a Wally drone, he has a couple of weapons that deal decent damage. We're going to start with a Power Gear Chain Blast, but from here on we're going to be using Acid Barrier. And specifically, we hope to use Power Gear Acid Barrier for not only this, but also the Gear Capsule phase, because the startup of the Acid Barrier does deal damage, aside from the shots themselves. And time is on final hit. Come on.
That's time. Dang it.
Yeah, there we go. Time.
Give up, Wiley.
There were some rough patches, but you pull through.
No choice.
Yeah, yeah, the second half was much better. It usually goes the other way around.
Spare me. I'm a helpless old man.
But yeah, you got any shout outs before we move on to the next game,
You can't
Coco?
fool me that easily.
Well, shout out to you, especially for helping me as always,
I didn't lose to you.
and shout outs
Not a
to
problem.
the GOC crew for making this possible. It's always nice to
I'm a
run for a
genius.
good cause.
My, will you never learn from your
All right, well,
mistakes?
thank you so much for a wonderful run, Coco. We've got you coming back for the next run as well, too, right?
Absolutely, I'll be right back.
Plagiarist.
All right, so we're going to take a quick intermission, switch games. We'll be coming right back here for Mega Man Rock and Roll Any Percent with Coco and Guy Next Door. Sit tight, guys.
Is the instrument of my